Alright, this is section 2.2, and I'm not going to do every single problem, but I'm going to run you through, try and at least run you through a few from each section to kind of give you a feel for what you're doing. The first group we had to do a problem 1 was 4 through 7. This is on page 67. And I'll do one that looks a little bit tougher than the others. I'll do problem number 5. So the original problem is 5x minus 2y equals negative 4. Directions tell us to put this thing, or to graph this equation. Okay, to do that, we're going to put it in slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form looks like y equals mx plus b. That gives us our slope and our y-intercept. And it's the best one to graph from, best form. Okay, well, we can see in this equation the y is by itself on the left-hand side, and right now, in the actual equation we have, that y is not by itself. There's that 5x over there. So we're going to just move that to the other side by subtracting it from both sides. And that gives us negative 2y equals, and we talked about it today, tuck that 5x term right in behind the equal sign, because that's where the x term is in slope-intercept form. Our y is still not alone yet. We need to divide away the negative 2, and we have to do that to everybody on both sides. Keeps our equation nice and balanced, and we get y equals a negative over a negative is a positive, and negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2. So we can see right away our slope is 5 over 2, and our y-intercept, the b value, is equal to a positive 2. So we first mark our y-intercept. This is our x-axis and our y-axis going up here. And we mark 2 on the y-axis because that's the y-intercept. That's where it touches the y-axis. Our slope is up 5 over 2. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go to the right 2, and that is another point. We could have also made them both negative and gone down 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back 2. And that point would also be on the line. And now we just simply draw a line through these 3 points, and let's put arrows on them. Alright, it does say to check it. To check it, you could just throw it into your calculator really quick, and you could graph from this slope-intercept form. Another way to check it is you could look at some of these points after you threw it into your calculator and just check to make sure it goes through. In this case we found 3 points. You really only have to test 2 points because that would define a line. Alright, from another group we have to go up to 17 through 19. Let's go ahead and do number 17. That looks like a tough one. It said find the slope of the line, and we've got for 1 point we got 2/3 and 4/7. And for the other one we've got 2/3 and 11/7. We're supposed to find the slope. Our equation for slope is change in y over change in x, delta y, delta x, or some people like this full form, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's make that look a little bit more like a y right there. Okay, and the biggest question I think most people usually have is which one's x1, which one's y1. It doesn't matter, but a good way to figure this out is just pick one of the points and call that point 1, and the other one point 2. Okay, and then right away that defines this as x1 and y1, meaning those are the points from point 1, and these is x2 and y2. Okay, and once you've done that, you should be able to set it up relatively easily. We go y2 minus y1 over, there's our big fraction bar, and then we go x2 minus x1. And then you can use your calculator to do the math, although we shouldn't need it for this because that's 11/7, by the way. Thank goodness. That way we don't need our calculators because we already have a common denominator. 11 minus 4 is 7, so we got 7 over 7. On the denominator we get 0. That gives us 7 over 7, 1 divided by 0. This line has a slope that is undefined. We looked at that on our calculators today. you can't divide by 0. In fact, we could be more descriptive and just say it's a vertical line, which also implies the slope is undefined. Alright, next group we had to do is 20 through 22, and we had to write equations of lines. Let's do 22, the hardest one probably. And you could write down slope equals -3/5, or m. And then they give us a point, and that's another point, or a point, that it goes through. We could actually graph that line right now if we wanted to. We don't need to do that though. Right away, if we think about slope-intercept form again, we know a whole bunch of stuff about this. We know it has to have the slope -3/5. We also know that the point they gave us, -4, 0, has to make the equation true. In other words, if x is 4, then y will come out to be 0. Okay, has to be, otherwise it doesn't go through that point. Remember, those points make the equation that we're looking for true. And so we can just go ahead and solve this little equation and figure out what b is. So we'll multiply and we get -12 over 5 plus b, and therefore b equals moving the 12/5 to the other side. It's 12/5. Now our final step is we want to write this equation out in its full glory. So we go y equals our slope, which we already knew, plus our y-intercept, 12/5. And that is the equation of the line that has a slope of -3/5. And if you plug in -4 for x, like up here in the
Mr.
problem.
Butler, if you're in the building, will you please call into the office?
You get 12/5, but something's wrong here. Our slope is -3/5. That all looks good. That's -12/5. Oh goodness, I should have plugged in a -4 down here. If I plug in a -4, I get +12/5. And then when I move it to the other side, I get -12/5. So there we go. It should have read -3/5 minus 12/5. Now when we check -4 in there, we get +12/5 minus 12/5, which is 0. Next group of problems that we had to go to were problems 26 through 28. Let's do one right in the middle. Let's do problem 27. Write in point slope the form of the equation. Well, we didn't go over point slope form. We can do that in class. To clarify, it's kind of a useful form, but I think the way we looked at it in class makes a little more sense to most of us. So there's our 2 points that our line goes through. And we're just going to try and write the equation in standard form, or rather slope-intercept form. We can move it to standard form later. And so if we want to do this, we have to figure out slope and y-intercept. So let's find our slope. Change in y, 5 minus 0. I always treat this one as y2 and this one as y1. We'll write a little y2 above that. Maybe not. There we go. And we'll call this y2 and y1. I always like to set it up so it's big minus small so I get positive numbers. And then this would be x2 and x1. And so we go 5 minus 1. So our slope is 5/4. So our equation now is starting to get filled out. I'm going to choose a point. I can choose either 1, 0, or 5, 5 to plug in. The equation has to make both ordered pairs true when they get plugged in. I'm going to use one where y is 0 and x is 1. That looks like it'll be easier math to me. And so I find out b is equal to -5/4. And so taking this right here, combining it with that equation that we almost have filled out, our slope 5/4 x and our y-intercept minus 5/4. Now if you check that in the back of the book, they'll have a slightly different answer because they put it in standard form. In standard form, you move the x term to the left-hand side with the y term. And then we don't want to have any fractions, and here we get a couple of them, and we don't want to have a negative sign at the beginning. And that would be proper standard form. So we're just going to remedy that. We're going to multiply by a -4 on both sides. Okay. What that does is changes this to a positive and the 4's cancel, so you get 5x. When you multiply there, you distribute, you get negative 4y equals, and this negative 4 and that 4 will cancel, and two negatives make a positive. So in standard form, 5x minus 4y equals 5. In slope-intercept form, it'd be that with all the fractions. Okay, next group we had to do is 32 through 34. I'll do 33 really quick, something right in the middle. For 33, they just say find the slope of this line. Negative 3x plus 2y equals 7. Quickest way to do that is put it in slope-intercept form. Move the 3x over, making it positive, and tuck it in behind the equal sign. Divide everybody by 2. Gives you 3 over 2 times x plus 7 over 2. We don't really care about the 7 over 2. What we wanted was this guy. Our slope is the number right next to the x. This line goes up 3 over 2. So that would be our answer for that one. The next group, we'll jump to 39, 40, 41, nope, don't have to do that, 51. Let's do, we'll save 39 and 40 for tomorrow. I will give you a hint on 39. 39, we want it to be perpendicular to this line, and so if our slope is negative 2/5, it turns out that the slope of a line perpendicular to it will be the reciprocal of it with the opposite sign, called the negative reciprocal. So when you're writing your answer or working on your answer, the slope of it's going to be 5 over 2. And they tell you a point it goes through, so you should be able to figure out what B is. And lastly, we will jump to, let's see here. We could do 63 also. Find the slope, that's an easy one. And 51 and 52, those are just simply look at the line, find 2 points and calculate slope, or you might even be able to do it by just counting on the graph. That's it. Good luck.